when we talk about love, we talk about it in terms of, I mean, even the highest way that we can show somebody love here as human beings is with a child or a spouse, and and you can feel like if something bad happens, it gets you in your core, and you would do anything, to try to take that and make things better, and so you look at that, and then God's love is so much more of that for each person, like that he designed and created you and wants the best for you, and he's thinking always good thoughts toward you, and so he just wants to have a relationship with you. And so, gosh, that's why I want to learn more about him, so I can get closer to him, because that's what he desires. He wants to be close to me. So I'm Mark McGowan. I'm a chiropractor. I'm married with 2 children, and I've been attending this church for 17 years.
Mark, how old are you?
50.
50, wow. Good for you.
Noticed that a lot of the so-called religious kids, they were the worst ones, it seemed like. And so I felt like I got this impression that church was loaded with a bunch of hypocrites. So that was kind of, even going into young adulthood, that was kind of my impression, that I'm a good person. I don't really need to go to church to be a hypocrite. I can do that on my own, And so in my life before Christ, what I would do is kind of mold myself into whoever I was with. So if I was somebody swearing a lot, I'd swear a lot. If I was with somebody, whatever they were doing, I would do it with them, And so, it gets uncomfortable sometimes when you're kind of molding yourself into something you're not. That's kind of what my life was like. I would talk the way of the people who I was with and act that way, and then I'd be completely different with somebody else, In fact, they'd probably be shocked if they were in the other environment, back then, to see like the different ways I would act, I remember when I was in college, my next door neighbor was a Mormon. The guy down the hall was a Baptist. And then one of my other friends was a Jehovah's Witness. And there were times when these 3 people and myself were together, and it was just a bunch of arguments. It was just like, no, this is the way it is. No, that's the way it is. No, that's the way it is. And I'm like, what way is it? So it was kind of confusing to me. I didn't know where to turn or where to go. And they were all seemingly good people as far as I liked them. And they all seemed to know what they were talking about in their own realm. So it was kind of confusing to me, because I always had this desire to understand who and what God was. Even going back to the Bible different times, even in adulthood, trying to make sense of it. Of course, going to church for different things like weddings and stuff like that, and you'd get a piece of, and it would just kind of stir this kind of desire in there. And then there were people along the way who you could tell who were more spiritual and who would try to direct me, who come to our church and so forth. And I just kind of always put it aside, thinking I don't want to get involved in that, So there was always that desire to know more, but I didn't know how to go about it or where to go.
Okay. What made you decide to make Pentecostal Assembly your home church?
Great question. So I hired an employee, in fact 2 employees who attended church here, and their families had attended church here. And they tried and tried for a long time to kind of get me to come. And they would try to educate me and and so forth. And so I did go to a thing called Heaven's Gates, Hell's Flames, it's a play talking about heaven and hell and God and so forth. And after I went to that, it kind of moved me to come to a service here, to church. And boy, I was blown away. I wish I had done it sooner, you know. Back at the time, I remember thinking, wow, people are so loving, they're so caring, you know, and I actually learned something when I came to the church, you know. I was moved. And that's about the time when I decided to dedicate my life to Christ.
What's it like being a Christian for you? Is it difficult?
In some ways it's very difficult, in other ways it's amazing, because amongst the difficulty, you know, you have access. You have access to peace when it's storm, when there's a tribulation, or where there's a problem or a trial, that you know that God's going to bring you out of it. And you know that when something happens, that all you got to do is turn to Him, and He has the answers for it. Where if you're in the same mess outside of that, who do you turn to? You turn to Oprah, you turn to, you know what I mean? It's unsure. So being a Christian, you have security, you know. I think that's one of the biggest things, you have security in knowing that you know where you're going, you know God has the best for you, and you know you're going to go through stuff. You already know that. So it's not easy, but in that you have access to the answers, I think is one of the best things. Number one, the first thing that drew me here is the genuine love. I just felt it right away. I mean, people were, I can tell that they just genuinely care. So it's almost like it's a family atmosphere, and not. And I've been to a lot of different churches. I've tried to go to different churches, and you don't always feel that, you know. Sometimes they're saying, okay, greet each other, and it's almost like they're forcing it, you know. Like, all right, I'm going to greet you, but I don't really want to. But here it's not like that. There's genuine love. But today, I mean, one of the biggest things for me is I continue to grow here. After all these years, I continue to grow and get more knowledge, more wisdom, more information, closer to God, more spiritual. And so as long as I'm getting that, that's probably the most important thing, really, for me, is that I get growth, and then I can take that and go and share that and help, you know, others with it.
Thank you, Mark. That was wonderful.
Thank you.